Hi, I'm Chaplain Lee, the Senior Chaplain for the Law Enforcement and Fire Service Chaplaincy for the City and County of Napa, California. Have you ever experienced a time in your life when everything seemed hopeless? A time when you were confused, lonely, or afraid? A time when the darkness around you seemed so heavy that you thought you couldn't breathe, much less think? The work I do as a chaplain has given me, as well as our team of chaplains, the privilege of serving people just like this. People who need someone to help them at the worst times of their life. Someone to bring them encouragement and hope, as well as valuable, practical resources to support them as they endure the difficulties of this life. Since 1996, I've helped hundreds of people. People who at critical, unforeseen, and unexplainable crossroads in their life suddenly find themselves faced with tragedy and trauma. Today, you will meet some of those people. I hope their stories will help you see the value of the work we do among our first responders, as well as the victims and witnesses of crime and trauma, and that you'll consider us worthy of support as we continue to serve the people of Napa. Thank you.
I was introduced to the Chaplain program approximately 5 years ago, and when I was a Solano area commander, and through that program I realized the benefit of having that type of availability of someone who's been trained and has the expertise and knowledge on how to deal with individuals who are involved in tragic accidents, death notifications from fatal victims. Also, the Chaplain program has really helped the Highway Patrol in assisting my officers when they're at some tragic incident where we need to be debriefed on how to handle what they've just observed and seen. Some of these tragedies involve shootings as well as automobile accidents with multiple victims, young children, and things like this. And the chaplains are just the key to enabling my people to sit down, be debriefed, consoled with, and talked to so they can get a sense of how to deal with this in the future, because it can cause emotional issues with officers, I found, in later on in their careers if it's not dealt with right away. And I think the Chaplain program is the key, because the chaplains are trained, they know how to handle people, they've got compassion, they know how to let their feelings go, they'll cry with officers, they'll laugh with officers, they do the things that really make their life easy and make it a lot more viable for them to do their job when they know that they're available for them.
I've seen many times where this program has helped the citizens of Napa in their time of need. The Chaplaincy program is basically a program like having an old friend visit you at a time of family occurrence, such as if we were to go to somebody's house and have to work on somebody in an emergency way, such as a heart attack. We would do that and take the patient to the hospital. We would simply call the Chaplaincy program, and they would send somebody out to the house to help the family, to help the neighbors, to help those people still at the scene handle their difficult time with this emergency.
When you're a first responder, there's so much you have to do. And one of the things you cannot be is an emotional crutch for the family, as cruel as that sounds. You just have too much to do. You have to get that done. And to be able to have that resource, to be able to call somebody out to help the family through the next few hours, few days, whatnot, organizing meals, explaining the process, what's going to happen next as far as the coroner, etc. It's just invaluable.
When somebody experiences a significant event, if they've lost a loved one, maybe it's because they've had a heart attack, they were in an automobile accident, or might be a structure fire, we contact the community chaplains who respond directly to the scene. And what they're able to do is to provide ongoing comfort and support to the family after emergency personnel have left. This is an invaluable tool that the community has had over the past 7 to 8 years. They're available 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Anytime we call them, they're there for us. They're there to help the citizens in the community. And they're not paid, they're not compensated in any way. Everything they do in their program survives strictly on donations. During any significant structure fire, the community chaplains are actually a part of our second alarm assignment, so they respond to the scene very quickly. And they fulfill a very valuable role. What they act as is the liaison between the incident commander of the fire and the homeowner and the occupant. So the community chaplain's role is to keep the occupant updated on everything that we're doing and why we're doing it, and also to help them with whatever needs that they may have. Whether it needs to get a hold of their insurance company or any other family members, and to help them and provide comfort and support in a variety of ways.
I saw it as an opportunity for our police department and the sheriff's office and the fire services to fill in a gap or a void that we've had traditionally for years. I've gone and done death notifications earlier in my career, and they're not a pleasant thing for an officer to do. The chaplains not only do the notification, but they stay with the family, remain with them for a period of time after the notification's done, and help them through those initial stages. People are in shock, disbelief, they don't know what to do, what's the next step, and having the chaplain there to provide that information that they need really helps those families through the initial stages of the trauma or crisis that they're facing. We as law enforcement officers and the fire service officers have to, go on back to business that we do, and what's nice with the chaplains is they have the luxury to stay and stay as long as necessary to help those families.
Thought life was good. We were just rolling along. We were on a fast track, working. Everybody's working, everybody's moving at a fast pace, like most people do nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And really thought nothing would ever happen. We knew that Lexi was diagnosed with cerebral palsy,
Yeah.
but that was never considered to be a life-threatening situation.
Oh.
And so little did we know, even 30 days later, that our lives would change forever, and our world would be turned upside down. We appreciated in the weeks and the months and the years later what an incredible part you had in that in our lives. And at the time, we couldn't measure that. And all I know, it was just happening, it was there. I can't imagine a city without that function. Yeah. And I had no idea it existed prior to this, but I can't imagine a city without the role of the law enforcement chaplaincy program.
That day rocked our world.
You can lose your mother, and you know that she will pass on in time, You can lose your dad, which both of us have.
Brothers, sisters. Something
like that. But when you lose a child, that's hell.
No matter what age.
Yeah.
It's backwards, and that's what is so difficult.
Yeah. We've had a tremendous loss, and we'll never get over it. Yeah. And but we've got people like you to talk with, see, and to
the counseling helped tremendously.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've become friends is even more important.
Yeah.
They came over, and then we did all the presents and everything, and they headed home. I'm just glad that I always hugged and kissed him and told him I loved him before. Every time,
I didn't really know how to deal with how to kind of get her calmed down, and I don't know if I should have just left her alone, but I remember talking to you, and you kind of said, well, just be strong, you know, somebody has to be there, and you're strong enough to do it. And I remember just hearing that, and so I just kind of, you know, it was hard. I mean, it was really hard to, you know, just, you know, sometimes I just like wanted just to leave, but you know, I just couldn't do it, you know. I figured, you know, you had to kind of deal with it, and it's not going to go away.
You know, I went through, well, why am I here now? You know, my parents were my life. And, but the biggest thing that you have to think is that, what would they want? You know, and I thank God every day that nothing ever happened to me, because that would have killed my parents. I mean, I was my parents' life, you know. If I got hurt, my mom would cry. and I know, you know, if we didn't have somebody that just took charge of calming everything down, I don't know what would have happened.
The Law Enforcement Chaplaincy program was started actually as a program within the Napa Police Department. Some years back, when I was chief, I put out a call to all of the pastors in the county to hopefully initiate some volunteerism as chaplains within the police department. We had one meeting with a number of chaplains, a number of pastors. The only person who answered the call initially was Lee Shaw, who began to ask more and more questions about the program, and we actually brought him on as a volunteer chaplain for the Napa Police Department. As Lee began to get into the work of chaplaincy and take the training, he saw a need that went far beyond the Napa Police Department and began expanding the program. It's now county-wide. He now is a chaplain for fire departments, for emergency medical services, for the sheriff's department, law enforcement county-wide. The service that he provides to the community is immeasurable. The major service that most people will see is that whenever there's a disaster or a victim of a crime, Lee and his volunteer chaplains, community chaplains, go to the scene immediately. They take care of whatever needs are there from the victims, the victim families, the witnesses, people who are traumatized by whatever the event might be, and just provide a continual service to them. Our initial intent with having the program was to provide that kind of liaison with victims of crimes and family victims of crimes, because in the law enforcement world, when we have a crime in particular, the detectives who are investigating the crime can't get too close to the victims. We can't become friends with them. We can't become allies with them, because for all we know, some member of the family could be, in fact, a suspect. And so that's always bothered me, that family members of crime victims, particularly homicides or missing persons, are sort of left in the dark to read about the case in the newspaper. What Lee's role is in the organization, the police department, is to provide that liaison, direct liaison with victims, families, and victims, to let them know what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, and also to provide information back to us to let us know if they have needs or particular interests that we can satisfy to make the relationship much better. He also assists them in all kinds of secular things in terms of making sure they have shelter and food and getting donations, taking care of whatever their needs might be. It's just an amazing program. The number of people that this program touches at a time when people need it absolutely the most, it's probably the most efficient, effective program in Napa County as far as individual service that really makes a difference in people's lives. The other side of the program is sort of the internal side of being a chaplain for the men and women of the police department, the fire departments, the sheriff's department. And that's important too, because that sort of changes the culture of organizations when you have someone like Lee in your organization, spending time with the men and women who work there, answering questions, being a confidant, counseling them at times. He doesn't proselytize. It's not about trying to convert people. It's simply a presence that is there that people can go talk to when they have a need to. And certainly that's happened many, many times in the organization, and I'm sure in the sheriff's department and fire departments as well. It's a wonderful program. This community would be much poorer if we did not have this program to help people. The police department and the sheriff's department have really internalized the program as a part of their procedures. Oftentimes on violent calls, violent crimes in particular, the very next thing after an officer requests an ambulance is that they request the chaplain. And if the chaplain were to become unavailable, I think you would see people very frustrated in the community and in the law enforcement and fire agencies. It's just a wonderful service for us and for the community, and we hope it continues. And good luck to Lee and his endeavors.